Good evening and welcome to Mega News at 6 p.m. We begin tonight with major stories, making headlines both locally and internationally. Moving on to the major headlines, stay with us.
Mahama receives procurement report to kickstart Green Digital City project. In business, domestic borrowing pushes Ghana's public debt to 720.8 billion Ghana cedis. And on the international front, cocaine worth $370 million seized in Liberia's biggest ever drug bust.
You can watch us on all our social media platforms at MBN360. We have the details of these stories and more. My name is Nade Dego. Now the news in detail. President John Dramani Mahama has received the final procurement report for Ghana's ambitious Green Digital City project, making a major step toward the completion of the flagship initiative. The project is expected to promote sustainable urban development, digital innovation, job creation, and climate-resilient infrastructure.
President John Dramani Mahama has officially received the procurement report for the Green Digital City project, paving the way for implementation. The project aims to develop a modern technology-driven urban hub powered by sustainable infrastructure, digital connectivity, and environmentally friendly systems. Government says the initiative will attract investment, create employment opportunities, support innovation, and position Ghana as a regional leader in the digital economy, while advancing the country's climate and green growth objectives. The submission of the procurement report is expected to accelerate the next phase of the project, including contractor selection and the commencement of construction works. The Green Digital City project forms part of the government's broader vision to harness technology and sustainable development to drive inclusive economic growth and improve the quality of life for Ghanaians.
As a long-term measure to ease the pressure on the capital city, Accra, government is advancing the design and feasibility study for establishment of a new city that will encompass land stretching from the Accra Plains towards parts of the Volta and Eastern regions. When completed, some government offices and agencies will be moved out of Accra into the new city. Only today, I received the procurement report for the start of work for consultancy and the feasibility study for what we call the Green Digital City.
Still on the presidency, President John Dramani Mahama has outlined key development achievements and ongoing projects in the Greater Accra region during an engagement with traditional leaders. He emphasized that the importance of collaboration between government and chiefs in driving sustainable development and improving the welfare of residents.
President John Dramani Mahama has presented the government's development agenda and progress in the Greater Accra region to chiefs and traditional authorities. The president highlighted investments in infrastructure, education, healthcare, roads, sanitation, and digital transformation aimed at improving living conditions and accelerating economic growth. He stressed that traditional leaders remain key partners in national development, particularly in land administration, environmental protection, and community mobilization. President Mahama also called for continued cooperation to address challenges such as flooding, rapid urbanization, and unauthorized developments. The engagement forms part of the president's efforts to strengthen partnerships with traditional authorities in advancing inclusive and sustainable development across the Greater Accra region.
With traditional leaders playing a vital role in governance, peace building, customary justice, land administration, and community mobilization. The moral authority and influence of chiefs remains indispensable to promoting unity, social cohesion, responsible citizenship, and national development, which is why government recognizes the strong collaboration with traditional authorities as essential to achieving sustainable development. Nimename, Greater Accra is not only a region, it is also the seat of government, Ghana's principal commercial gateway, and a host of institutions that serve the entire country. Investments made here must therefore strengthen the capital while supporting national trade, healthcare, employment, and economic transformation. And that is why major investments are taking place here in the Greater Accra region. One major achievement is the completion and commissioning of phases 1 and 2 of the Tema Ports Terminal 3 expansion project. We've also introduced 24-hour operations at the Tema Port, allowing importers and exporters from every part of Ghana to access port services around the clock, reduce delays, and lower the cost of doing business. Under the big push, contractors have mobilized and work is progressing on several road projects: the Accra-Tema motorway expansion, the Tema-Aflao Road, the Adenta-Dodowa corridor, the Dodowa-Afenya-Dawenya Road, the Accra-Kaswa-Winneba Cape Coast dualization, and many other such projects. We're also scoping phase 2 of the big push, which will include roads such as Adan Junction, Kase to Adanfo, and several other regional roads. These are national economic corridors that connect communities and production centers to the capital, and also to neighboring countries and markets across Ghana.
Moving on, President John Dramani Mahama has appealed to traditional leaders in Accra to halt the allocation of lands on waterways and flood prone areas, warning that the practice is worsening flooding and putting lives and property at risk. He says protecting natural drainage system is critical to building safer and more resilient communities.
President John Dramani Mahama has called on chiefs and traditional authorities in Accra to stop allocating lands located on waterways and floodplains. According to the president, unchecked development on natural drainage channels continues to contribute significantly to perennial flooding, especially during the rainy season. He stressed that protecting waterways requires the collective efforts of government, traditional authorities, local assemblies, and the public to ensure proper land use and planning. President Mahama noted that preventing encroachment on waterways is essential to safeguarding lives, protecting property, and reducing the economic impact of floods. The appeal forms part of broader efforts to strengthen urban planning, improve environmental management, and build climate-resilient communities across the country.
Nimename, the recent flooding in Accra and other parts of the country resulted in several deaths, displacement, and serious hardship. I extend my condolences to the bereaved families and my sympathy to all persons who were affected. We've also relaunched the National Sanitation Day and strengthened drainage interventions in flood-prone communities. More than 50 kilometers of drains have been desilted, while work under the Garrett projects are progressing in the Odor Basin. I call on our chiefs to help sustain these gains by championing sanitation and preventing development on waterways and wetlands. The problem of flood is not caused by rainfall alone. It is worsened when we block drains, when we develop over waterways, and when we build on wetlands. It's worsened by poor waste disposal, weak enforcement, and rapid urbanization. So government will continue relief efforts while pursuing lasting solutions. These include all year-round desilting and expansion of drains, reopening waterways, restoring wetlands, improving waste collection, and enforcing planning and sanitation laws. The Assembly's drainage and road agencies, NADMO, security services, waste management companies, and traditional authorities must work together. Engineering works alone will not solve the problem. We also need responsible land administration, good sanitation practices, and firm enforcement of the law. I therefore appeal to NIME and NAME not to permit or support the allocation of lands in waterways, on wetlands, drainage reserves, buffer zones, or other flood-prone areas.
Away from the presidency, we will move to Parliament, where Parliament has approved a $300 million financing facility to support secondary education across Ghana. The funding is expected to improve school infrastructure, expand access to quality education, and strengthen teaching and learning in line with the country's human capital development agenda.
Parliament has approved a $300 million financing package to support the development of secondary education in Ghana. The funding will be used to improve educational infrastructure, construct and rehabilitate school facilities, and provide resources to enhance teaching and learning across the country. Government says the investment is aimed at expanding access to quality secondary education while addressing infrastructure deficits and increasing opportunities for students. The approval forms part of broader efforts to strengthen Ghana's education sector and equip young people with skills needed for national development. The financing is expected to accelerate ongoing education reforms and contribute to improving learning outcomes in senior high schools nationwide.
Say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion listed 2 in today's order paper addendum is hereby carried.
Away from Parliament, former New Patriotic Party chairman Paul Afoko has called on members of the NPP to set aside internal differences and unite behind a common purpose as the party seeks to rebuild and reclaim political power. He says unity and relations are essential to the party's future electoral success.
Former national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Paul Afoko, has urged party members to put emotions aside and work together to rebuild the party. Speaking on the need for unity, Afoko said internal divisions and personal grievances should not stand in the way of the NPP's efforts to regain power. He called on party faithful to embrace reconciliation, strengthen internal cohesion, and focus on the collective interest of the party ahead of future political contest. According to him, a united front will position the NPP to effectively reconnect with Ghanaians and present a credible alternative in the next general election. His comments come as the party continues to assess its electoral performance and chart a path toward rebuilding and renewal.
For me, when that happened, I started feeling some misgivings. Then I thought, well, we will weather this storm. By then, my anger at having been just suspended had all gone anyway. By then it was gone. And somebody once asked me, how do you know it's gone? I said, because these days when I go on air, I go on TV and I see the faces of the people I thought masterminded what happened. I don't change channels anymore. I'm able to listen to them, not just hear them, listen and try to work out what they are saying, and is it good for the party, is it good for the country? And so the anger was gone. And then the next election, it was a further decline, steep one, 88. And then we had this other seat that came up and we've gone down to 87. At that point I asked myself, are we going to end up like the CPP? When Nkrumah goes, obviously that was a coup d'etat, and then that tradition was banned. But are we going down that route? How do we climb out of this? And as I sat down and I was analyzing it and discussing with friends, we came to the one conclusion that the one thing that can save us now is to unite the party. Factions, even in the one party state, there are factions. I've mentioned this before. but even in China. But those factions still work within a certain structure. They know they cannot break that structure just because they disagree with each other internally. Back home in the north, they tell us that your teeth and your mouth occupy the same house, and your teeth and your tongue occupy the same house. But once in a while, the teeth will get the tongue, and sometimes it will bleed. You don't take a stone and knock out your teeth. You don't. And just this sort of thinking, we said no. Factionalism must go. We have to unite this party.
Also, security consultants have defended the Economic and Organized Crime Office, saying public criticism over recent controversial arrests should be directed at political actors rather than the investigative agency. He urged the political interference and public commentary often form misunderstanding about the work of law enforcement institutions.
A security consultant says the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, should not be blamed for public confusion surrounding recent arrests. According to him, politicians and politically charged commentary often shape public perception and create misconceptions about the actions of investigative agencies. He stressed that EOCO is mandated to investigate suspected economic and organized crimes and should be allowed to carry out its work without undue political pressure or interference. The consultants called on political leaders to exercise restraint in their public comments and allow due process to take its course. He added that strengthening public confidence in state institutions requires respect for the rule of law, transparency, and a clear separation between politics and criminal investigations.
Let's go for a break. Up next is Business with Juliet Yaira Afu.
So there's some local fast. Mama, me again. Let's go yale. Me quite remember who you need. Mentally, sent my friend doctor when I'm crossing over. So what was swearing? Yes, malaria. Malaria. Oh, what is it with your router? We copy the absence. A drone a friend router mix. Yeah, come on, let it draw. And running so that trap and the draw ku abaso body ase wabo ruta mixture abaso ruta natural products no ne ruta mixture ya de kutia a treat ruta tonic and the ruta life wa ehuru efini srade bone efini padua mu na support immune system no ruta de obi ase FDA age dwede nkrato ya tu.
Welcome back from that break. Now let's do some business news with me, Juliet Yaira Afu. In our first business story, Ghana's public debt has climbed to 720.8 billion Ghana cedis, driven largely by increased domestic borrowing. The latest figures highlight the government's continued reliance on local market debt to finance its budget and manage fiscal obligations amid ongoing economic reforms.
Ghana's total public debt has risen to 720.8 billion Ghana cedis, with domestic borrowing accounting for much of the increase. The latest debt figures indicate that government continues to rely heavily on the domestic market to finance budgetary operations and meet its fiscal commitments. Economists say while domestic borrowing can reduce exposure to foreign exchange risk, sustained increases may put pressure on interest rates, private sector access to credit, and debt servicing costs. Government maintains that its fiscal consolidation measures and ongoing economic reforms are aimed at restoring debt sustainability and strengthening microeconomic stability. The latest debt data underscores the importance of prudent fiscal management as Ghana seeks to balance development spending with long-term debt sustainability.
Still in the world of business, the Bank of Ghana has issued a final warning to individuals and companies offering loans without required license, directing them to cease operations immediately or face regulatory and legal actions.
The Bank of Ghana has issued a final warning to all unlicensed loan operators to stop their activities immediately. The central bank says any individual or company providing lending services without the appropriate license is operating illegally and risks sanctions under Ghana's financial laws. The bank urged the public to deal only with licensed financial institutions and to verify the status of digital lending platforms before taking loans. According to the Bank of Ghana, the crackdown is intended to protect consumers from fraud, excessive lending charges, and unfair debt collection practices. The regulator has reiterated its commitment to enforcing compliance and maintaining a safe, transparent, and well-regulated financial system.
Up next, the sports and entertainment with Farah Ayi. Stay tuned.
Hi, welcome to Shiloh Guest House, where comfort meets warmth. Our serene environment and cozy rooms provides a pleasant stay. To book a room with us, call 055-5940-103 and 0241-972076. Locate us at Teshinungwa Estate, number 8 Coconut Street, directly behind A-Life Supermarket. Shiloh Guest House, where comfort meets warmth.
Welcome back from that break. I am Farah Ayi, bringing you the sports news. Now in sports, the Confederation of African Football has announced that the Africa Cup of Nations will expand from 24 to 28 teams, beginning with the 2027 tournament. The move is expected to increase participation, provide more opportunities for emerging football nations, and enhance the competitiveness of Africa's premier football competitions.
The Confederation of African Football (CAF) has approved the expansion of the Africa Cup of Nations from 24 to 28 teams, effective from the 2027 edition. The decision will allow 4 additional nations to qualify for the continent's biggest football tournament, broadening representation across Africa. CAF says the expansion is intended to promote football development, increase competition, and give more member associations the opportunity to compete on the continental stage. The new format is also expected to bring more matches, greater commercial opportunities, and increase fan engagement across the continent. Member associations are expected to receive further details on the qualification process and tournament format ahead of the 2027 AFCON qualifiers.
Now in entertainment, Ghanaian musician and creative entrepreneur Sister Deborah is set to unveil her latest project, Debutopia, at a star-studded release party. The event is expected to bring together personalities from the entertainment and creative industries as fans get a first look at the new work.
Sister Deborah is preparing to officially launch a new creative project, Debutopia, at an exclusive release event. The star-studded gathering will feature celebrities, industry players, and fans celebrating the unveiling of the project, which reflects the musician's unique blend of creativity, fashion, and artistic expression. Known for a bold approach to music and visual storytelling, Sister Deborah continues to push boundaries within Ghana's entertainment space. The release party is expected to set the tone for the project's rollout as audiences await more details about Debutopia and its creative direction.
Now that's all for sports and entertainment with me, Farah Ayi. Up next is the international news with Nadede Gogo.
Jasuni from Ejahima. Sawupa MBN Jasua from 0245 88 2128. MBN Jasu come home na yendi eja at the right place.
Estimated at $370 million in country's largest ever drug bust. The operation marks a major breakthrough in the fight against international drugs trafficking networks operated in West Africa.
Authorities in Liberia have intercepted a massive cocaine shipment valued at about $370 million in what has been described as the country's biggest ever drug seizure. The operation involved security agencies working to disrupt a suspected international trafficking network using Liberia as a transit route. Officials say investigations are ongoing to identify those behind the shipment and bring suspected accomplices to justice. The seizure highlights growing concerns over West Africa's role as a transit hub for global narcotics trafficking and the need for stronger regional cooperation among security agencies. Authorities have pledged to intensify efforts to combat illegal drug trade and protect communities from the impact of narcotics-related crimes.
Good afternoon to all. At this point in time, we're not having an official press conference. I think you all have followed us from the point of seizure till now. So now what we're going to do is to detail it, weigh it, attach the value. Then we'll have a detailed press conference. But this is just what we asked the public over the last few weeks to be patient. Investigation was ongoing. This is the collaborative effort of the strength that comes from the unity of the joint security. We want to say thanks to all of the major players, especially the National Security Agency, the DA, the police, every lab, the EPS, everyone who have played a part in this. To the Liberian people, this is where becoming born. We said that this place is not open for cartel business, and I want to assure each and every one of you that we have the command and control of the cartel in custody. They will be prosecuted and they will answer to the law.
Moving on, the United States has warned that it could strike critical infrastructure in Iran, including bridges and power plants, if attacks linked to the Strait of Hormuz continue. The threat comes amid raising tensions in the region and growing concerns over the security of one of the world's most important oil shipping routes.
The United States has issued a warning that Iran's key infrastructure could become targets if attacks around the Strait of Hormuz persist. U.S. officials say potential targets could include bridges, power facilities, and other strategic infrastructure as part of efforts to pressure Tehran and protect maritime security. The Strait of Hormuz, a vital passage for global energy shipments, has remained at the center of escalating tensions, with fears that disruptions could affect international oil markets. Iran has previously warned against foreign military actions in the region, raising concerns over possible further escalation. Diplomatic efforts continue as global powers call for restraint and a peaceful resolution to avoid a wider conflict in the Middle East.
This is the 6 p.m. news. Let's take a recap of the major headlines.
Mahama receives procurement reports to kickstart Green Digital City project. In business, domestic borrowing pushes Ghana's public debt to 720.8 billion Ghana cedis. And on the international front, cocaine worth $370 million seized in Liberia's biggest ever drug bust.
Business news was read by Juliet Yaira Afu. Sports and entertainment, Farah Ai. My name is Nade Degogu. See you same time tomorrow. Have a very good evening.